kindly response to your message whether I am properly audible and visible. So kindly show me the message section. Okay, thank you. Now one thing I want to say that kindly follow the YouTube classes or the classes which are just uploaded in your e-portal, because yesterday only I got the class with class 8O, and I have started this new chapter, understanding laws, and we have completed the first para, sorry, now not para, better to say page number 43 we have already completed. The explanation part is over, and today I will start from the second para of page number 44. So if you are not following the classes which are uploaded in ePortal or which are there in YouTube, then you will find it quite difficult to relate, it will become quite problematic for you to tally. So better you kindly follow the classes which are uploaded in your YouTube or which are uploaded in your e-portal, not YouTube, in your e-portal. Yesterday only after the class was over, I uploaded it in the e-portal. I hope that you have seen. Kindly follow, otherwise you will not be able to just keep the parity or you will not be able to tally the classes. Yes sir, I have also seen that. Roshni, thank you Roshni. Yes sir, you are audible and visible. Okay, yes sir, seen that video, Chandrana. So children, we will start from here today. It is often believed that it was the British colonists who introduced the rule of law in India. Historians have disputed this claim on several grounds, two of which include, I have started from this para because I have asked to underline. So I thought that many of you have not seen the video. So for your convenience only I have started from this para, otherwise I have completed this one yesterday. So take the pencil in your hand and you start underlining from here. Historians have disputed this claim on several grounds, two of which include first that colonial law was arbitrary, and second that the Indian nationalists played a prominent role in the development of the legal sphere in British India. Up to this you kindly underline. One example of arbitrariness that continued to exist as part of British law is the Sedition Act of 1870. Sedition, it is given in our glossary and I have just explained from there yesterday. The idea of sedition was very broadly understood within this act. Any person protesting or criticizing the British government could be arrested without due trial. So that means without questioning, without bringing that person to the court and judging the matter properly, examining those the objects or the things properly, or without thoroughly questioning that person. The people who were thought that they were guilty, they were arrested. Now another example of British arbitrariness was the Rowlatt Act, which allowed the British government to imprison people without due trial. This is very important. Indian nationalists, including Mahatma Gandhi, were vehement in their opposition. Vehement means forceful. Forceful in their, or vehement in their opposition to the Rowlatt Bill. Despite the large number of protests, the Rowlatt Act came into effect on 10th March 1919. So even when there was a protest, still then the law was implemented. It was effective. In Punjab, protests against the act continued quite actively, and on April 10, two leaders of the movement, Dr. Satya Pal and Dr. Saifuddin Kitklew, were arrested. To protest these arrests, a public meeting was held on 13th April at Jallianwala Bagh in Amritsar. General Dyer entered the park with his troops. They closed the only exit, and without giving any warning, General Dyer ordered the troops to fire. Several hundreds of people died in this gunfire, and many more were wounded, including women and children. This painting shows troops firing on the people during the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. So, such horrifying, such thrilling in the sense that it was really beyond our imagination. No, so many people, they were present there, and they were brutally murdered, and also some who were not, who didn't die, they were highly affected, or they were severely wounded. So such was the British rule. How horrifying, how frightening it is. It is quite frightening, or even a person will feel just quite horrified to explain this one, to explain this part. Such sad matter, such cruelness, better to say such cruelty. It was such a matter of cruelty. Indian nationalists began protesting and criticizing this arbitrary use of authority by the British. They also began fighting for greater equality and wanted to change the idea of law from a set of rules that were forced to obey to law, as including ideas of justice. So people were forced to follow, and those were a set of rules, not law. It is written here, they also began fighting for greater equality and wanted to change the idea of law from a set of rules that were forced to obey to law as including ideas of justice. So a law must be there where some sort of justice should be present, must be present. By the end of the 19th century, the Indian legal profession also began emerging and demanded respect in colonial courts. They began to use law to defend the legal rights of Indians. Indian judges also began to play a greater role in making decisions. So Indian judges, they also started to play the role of making decisions. Previously it was not within their grip. And even we can find that Indian legal profession also began emerging and demanded respect in colonial courts. Previously they didn't get any respect. They began to use law to defend the legal rights of Indians. Therefore, there were several ways in which Indians played a major role in the evolution of the rule of law during the colonial period. So let us come to the glossary to see the meaning of evolution according to this chapter. So process of development from a simple to a complex form, and is often used to discuss the development of a species of plants or animals. In the context of this chapter, for this reason we have come here, we need to know the meaning in this context. In this context of this chapter, it refers to the way in which protecting women against domestic violence developed from an urgently felt need to a new law that can be enforced throughout the country. So in this context, it refers to the way in which protecting women were given some sort of protection against or from the domestic violence, and it was the urgent need, and to a new law that can be enforced throughout the country, and it was just implemented, or it was said that it must be followed throughout the whole country. Okay. With the adoption of the Constitution, this document served as the foundation on which our representatives began making laws for the country. So, with the adoption of the Constitution, this document served as the foundation on which our representatives began making laws for the country. So, after independence, we have come to know that people who were there for framing the constitution or writing down the constitution, they had so many meetings for so many days. There was such lots interaction just to know the need, just to know where lies the fault. So every year our representatives pass several new laws as well as revise existing ones. You underline this one, that it is done every year. That every year our representatives pass several new laws as well as revise the existing ones. In your class 6 book, you read about the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. According to this new law, sons, daughters and their mothers can get an equal share of family property. Previously it was not there, only the son used to get. Similarly, new laws have been enacted to control pollution and provide employment. So this new law also we can find that which was enacted to control pollution and provide employment. How do people come to think and propose that a new law is necessary? When do people think that now we require a new law and the existing laws, there is requirement to revise it? There is some sort of requirement to revise it because it is becoming beneficial for might be some people, and for others it is becoming some sort of torture. So there is requirement to revise. So how people come to think and propose that a new law is necessary, you will read more about this in the next section. So children, up to this I have explained. If you are having any query or problem, you can ask me. Please, someone microphone is on, please mute your microphone. Hey, who is this one? Sir, what was the difference between Rowlatt Act and Sedition Act? Who is this one? Sedition Act you go through once, and Rowlatt Act also you go through once, you will come to know. Who is this one, Josh? Yes sir, I have also seen, sir, what is the difference? You come to this Sedition Act once and read again the Rowlatt Act. You will come to know it. Okay, if I try to answer your question, then come to the Sedition Act. This applies to anything that the government might consider as stirring up resistance or rebellion against it. So if the government feels that some people are trying to go against it, then at that time, in such cases, the government does not need absolute evidence in order to arrest persons. No evidence is required to arrest that person. Under the Sedition Act of 1870, the British had a very broad interpretation of what constituted sedition. And what this meant was that they could arrest and detain any person they wanted under this act. And according to the Rowlatt Act, which allowed British government to imprison people without due trial. So Rowlatt Act is where the British could imprison people without trial, and the Sedition Act is that it constituted that they could arrest and detain any person they wanted under this act. So almost no difference is there. Almost no difference is there, because it is written that due to this or under the Sedition Act of 1870, the British had a very broad interpretation of what constituted sedition, and what this meant was that they could arrest and detain any person they wanted under this act. So same thing here also in this Rowlatt Act. That means according to this act, the British government can imprison people without due trial. Okay, children. Roshni, I hope you have got your answer. Actually, no difference is there. Almost same. Almost same. In both the cases, without trial, you can imprison a person. You need not just explain the person what is the reason, what is his fault, what is his guilt. You can take him and just directly put him behind the bars. So let us just come to the next part. Is it understand or understood? How do new laws come about? The Parliament has an important role in making laws. There are many ways through which this takes place, and it is often different groups in society that raise the need for a particular law. An important role of Parliament is to be sensitive to the problems faced by the people. Let us read the following story to understand how the issue of domestic violence was brought to the attention of the Parliament and the process adopted for this issue to become law. Domestic violence refers to the injury or harm or threat of injury or harm caused by an adult male, usually the husband, against his wife. Injury may be caused by physically beating up the woman or by emotionally abusing her. Abuse of the woman can also include verbal, sexual, and economic abuse. The Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005 extends the understanding of the term domestic to include all women who live or have lived together in a shared household with a male member who is perpetrating the violence. Perpetrating the violence, that means continuing the violence. So children, with this we have come to the end of this page number 45, and in our next class we will start with this story that the daily, about the newspaper. Okay. So, sir, is it that under Rowlatt Act for exit time we can imprison a person, but under Sedition Act it was that it could arrest a person when a person protested or criticized the British? Same thing, no, why you are going to arrest somebody if you don't find him guilty of saying something against you? It is said that the British government to imprison people without due trial. So until and unless the government finds somebody going against him, going against the government, why the person will be arrested? Till then, I will just try to see if I can find the difference between the Rowlatt Act and the Sedition Act, and I will try to inform you in my next video. When you are saying in this way, I will try to see whether really any difference is there between this Sedition Act and Rowlatt Act. Might be there, it might be there, I have to see, and if I find, I will definitely inform you. And you also try to find, if you get, you will also inform me as well as others. According to this book, what I have understood or I have read, I didn't see. In both the cases I can find that the British government can imprison a person and without any trial or without any sort of judgment, the person can be imprisoned. But still then I will try to see if any difference is there between these two acts. Okay, so children, in our next class we will proceed with the next part of the chapter. Till then, bye.